Yes. So today we are going to be continuing on the methods. So continuation of our yesterday's topic, we are going to be further discussing about the instance methods. Okay, our further discussion is on methods. So today we are going to be focusing on two concepts, that is our parameters, parameters and return type. So first we are going to be discussing about these two topics of our methods. So what is the role of a parameter and what is the role of the return type? And then using these both terms, using these two, how many different ways I can write my method? Using the concept of parameters and return type, how many different ways are there to create a method? So these are the topics of our discussion first. Okay, now let us understand parameters. First, let us start with the concept of parameters. So basically, a parameter is nothing but variables. So parameters are nothing but variables. Yes. So parameters are, as I said, nothing but variables. So second concept, what you should know, they are local variables. They are not just variables, but they are local variables that belongs to the function. Okay, they are nothing but local variables that belongs to the method. Now, you already know what are local variables. So, whatever variables a parameter is having, you can make use of that variable only within the function. If you try to access it outside of the function, it is going to end up throwing errors because that is the scope of a local variable. So parameters are nothing but variables, and that too they are local variables and it belongs to the method, and it can be used only inside the method. Now, the question is, what is the use? What is the use of it? What is the usage or use of these parameters? Now, parameters are a way of passing information to my function. So, parameters are a way of passing information, information or what we call as data. So, passing information or data to the method. That is the role or that is the usage of parameters. Now, why should I pass like that? Why should I pass like that? Okay, to know that, let us look into a small program. To understand that, let us go into a small program. Sorry, it is taking little time. Yes, okay. Yes. So we shall be working. I have a class and I'm having a main method inside the class. Done. Okay. Now I have some variables here created inside my main. These are the two variables that I'm having. Remember, these variables are created inside the main function. Thus, they are local variables. local variables belonging to the main. So belonging to the main method. Now, what is that I'm doing? I am creating a scanner class object. Okay, then I'm asking the user to enter two numbers. So enter the value of x. So whatever is the value given, I'm reading it, storing it inside x. Same way, I'm asking the user to enter the value of y. There you go. Done. Okay, so I have got the value of x and y. Now, what I want to do is, I want to multiply these two values. But for multiplication, I am creating a function. So this is going to be an instance method. And what is the job of this instance method is to multiply the values. So multiply the value and print the result. So this is the function. This is the work of that function. So let us create access specifier, return type. Now look here. What is the work I'm saying? Multiply the value and print the result. So inside the function itself, I am going to be printing the result. So that means the function is not going to return any value. So whenever a function does not return any value, we are going to be giving as void. Now we have to give a function name. I'm giving the function name as multiply. Function is always denoted within the parameter, my parenthesis. So give that. Open and close curly brace. I have created the block. Right. So inside that, what is the code? I want to multiply. Okay. So I'm saying int result is equal to. Now, which values I have to multiply? I have to multiply the value of x and y. So here what I'm going to say, x into y. Then I'm saying system.out.println. Okay. X into y is equal to, the result is stored inside the result variable. So print it. That's it. Now, next step, what you're going to do? You're going to create an object. Create an object for the class. For the class. So, class name is test. T is equal to new. Sorry. So, new test of. Done. Then I'm saying T dot multiply. So, this is my function calling, or what I call as method calling. This is my method definition. So this is my instance method definition. So I have function definition, I have function calling, I have the work done, everything is perfect. But still, see, my program is throwing an error. So what is the error? It says cannot find the symbol x and y. It is not able to recognize x and y. Why? Because x and y are local variables. See, where you're creating that variable, you have created that variable inside the main function. So they are local variables of the main function. So this is the problem we are going to be facing. So what is our criteria now? The main function is going to get the data. From the main function, I want to pass some information or pass some data to my function. So how am I supposed to pass that data? X and Y value, I have got it from the user inside the main function only. That is the work of the main. Work of the main function is always reading the data, calling the function, printing the result. This is always taken care by the main function. So the functions you are going to create will do the calculation part alone. So now my question is how to pass that information. So for this reason only, we are having the concept of parameters. So whenever you're creating a function, you're creating that with parameters is for this purpose. So parameters is a way of passing data to the method, to the created method from the other method, from our main or from any other method. I want to pass the data. Right, so now let us add the parameters. So first let me review this example. So why is then parameters required? So variables generally declared within a block are local and hence cannot be accessed from other blocks. So how to make use of it? Example for this situation is this one. So where I have created here, this line is going to throw me a compilation error. So what is the error I'm going to get? Cannot recognize. Cannot recognize the symbol. X and Y. So cannot recognize the symbol X and Y for me. So that is the error message you are going to be getting here. So how to solve this situation? So a solution for this above problem. Issue is nothing but our parameters. So here, same program, I'm just going to do a small modification. What is that? I am going to give here int a, comma, int b. Now, int a and int b, this is what we call as parameters. So what did I say? Parameters are nothing but variables, local variables. So you are creating this variable where inside this function. So they are a and b are local variables of this particular function. So scope of this variable, you can use it only inside of this function. So if I use it outside, it is going to throw me an error. Right. So now instead of multiplying x and y, I am going to multiply a and b. So I am saying something like this. Right. Now, how to pass this x and y information to my a and b? See, here I want to pass only two datas. Okay, I want to pass only two numbers. Hence, I am creating only two parameters. So, how many informations you want to pass? That many parameters you will be creating. Data type of the parameter will be same as the type of information that you are going to be passing. Please understand, whatever information you're going to pass, that data type and the parameters data type is going to be same. And how many informations you're going to, that and the number of parameters are going to be same for us. Okay, right. So now here, two integer numbers. So I am creating two integer parameters. Okay, so now how to pass this x and y value is when you're going to call the function. So where is the function calling applying? Here. Here I will say x comma y. Okay, here I'm going to say x comma y. So now what is this? This is what we call as values for the parameters, or another name for it is arguments. values for the parameters. See here, this function is taking two parameters. I have to give the value for a and b. So when will you give the value for a and b is when you are going to call the function. This is what we call as argument. So please understand, two words here we are going to be using. Okay, what are the two words? One is a parameter, another word is argument. Okay, very, very important. Okay, very important and interview based question also. What is the difference between a parameter and an argument? What is the difference between parameters and arguments? Point number one, parameter comes in function definition. So they are a part of method definition. Whereas arguments are a part of method calling. Remember, parameters are given in function definition. Arguments are given in method calling. So parameters are a way of, so parameters are nothing but local variables. And arguments are the values of that local variables. So my parameter is nothing but my variable. The local variable, what I'm creating, that is what I call as a parameter. And argument is the values given for that variable. That is what we call as an argument. So understand these two differences very clearly. Okay, and another thing, you can also show it in syntax. So again, remember what we discussed about the syntax yesterday? Followed by the parameters. Okay, and when it comes to arguments, as I said, it is the method calling. So method name and followed by the arguments, which are nothing but values given to that parameter. So there you go. So this is how the difference between a parameter and an argument is. Right, now about this program. So what I have done, I have created this multiplication with two parameters and I am passing the value here. Now when I run this, program, see what happens. Value of x, value of y, then it is multiplying, giving me the value. So the program works perfectly for us. Now there is no error. Program is working perfectly. So you can either get the data from the user. Okay, you can either get the data from the user. So this is nothing but reading inputs. And then pass the data as parameter like this. Or else I can also call the function like this. See, t dot multiply of see what happens. I am saying multiply 50 comma 89. I am myself passing the values. Remember, function is reusability. Once you create a function, you can call the function n number of times. Any number of times you can keep calling the same function. So whenever we call the function, what is going to happen? Whatever code is there inside is going to get repeated for me. Right. So now what happens when I give here x comma y? So what will happen here is whatever is the value of x, whatever is stored inside x, that value will be assigned to this variable a. It is like a simple assignment. Okay, general normal operation. It will be doing like this. A is equal to x value and then b is equal to y value. Like this normal assignment will happen. So whatever is the value of this x, that will get assigned to a, and whatever is the value of this y will get assigned to this b. This is what happens when I am going to be calling the function like this. When I'm going to be calling the method like this. Now, when I'm going to call the method like this, what will happen? This 50 will get assigned to A. So it will become like this. A is equal to 50. Then B is equal to 89. That's it. So whatever is the value, that value is going to go and get assigned to this particular parameters. This type of assignment, okay, this type of assignment is called as call by value. Okay, we call this as call by value. So call by value means assigning the value of the variable. Assigning the values to the parameter by copying the data, by making a copy of the data. So what do you mean by that? Original data does not get modified. Call by value means assigning the value to the parameters by the method of copying. So what I mean by this is whatever is the value of x will be copied to a. Whatever is the value of y will be copied to b. Okay. So now x and y will still have that value. That is not going to change. That is not going to be modified at all. Right. Now I'll try to make you understand that with another example. First, let us run this. So yes, working. So this way also it is working. When I pass the direct numbers also it is working. Right. So first let us note this down. Right. Now let me tell you what do you mean by this. What do I actually mean by call by value? Right. Let us try to understand this. So for understanding this, I am going to make use of the example of swapping. Swapping of two numbers. Swapping means what? Interchanging. Interchanging the variables values. That is what you mean by swapping, right? So for example, if I am saying A is equal to 10 and I'm saying B is equal to 20, this is the values which is there. So at that time of input, this is the values which is available. Value of A and value of B. So how is the output should come? The output should be A value. Output should be A value should become 20 and B value should become 10. This is what we call as interchanging or swapping. Now, basically, we have already done a program on this. I hope you guys remember. Okay, swapping or interchanging is done. Okay, swapping or interchanging is done based on two ways. Right, using temporary variable and without using temporary variables. We have already discussed that in our fundamentals. So the two ways what we have is using temp and without using a temp, or temp, or what we call as using a third variable. Using a third variable and without using a third variable. So these are the two ways in which you are going to be which you are going to be working the concept of swapping. Now, using a third variable, how we'll do? We will create a variable called temp. I'm going to create a variable called temp. So then I'm going to say temp is equal to A. So whatever is the value that is present inside A, I'm going to store it in this temp. Okay, after this, I'm going to say now A is free. That is, whatever is the value of A, I have made a copy of it inside temp. So now I can change this value. No problem. I have a backup. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say A is equal to B. That is, assign the value of B. Whatever is stored inside B, give it to A. And then now B is equal to temp. This is the logic what we use for swapping of numbers. Okay, this is using a third variable. This is the logic that we are going to be applying in our method. So now, when we say without using third variable, that is, I don't want this temp. Now, why am I not using temp? See, temp is a variable which is again going to occupy some memory space. So since it is integer, it is going to occupy 4 bytes of data. It's going to occupy 4 bytes of data. I don't want that extra memory to be wasted. With A and B alone, I want to do the swapping. I don't want a third variable at all. So for that, the mathematical logic we are going to be using. So what is that I'm going to say? I am saying A is equal to, so A plus B. Then I'm saying B is equal to A minus B. Again, A is equal to A minus B. So this logic, when I work out, it is also going to do the concept of swapping. So this is using a third variable or using a temp variable, and this is without using a third variable. So these are the two ways I have to solve this particular question. So swapping of two numbers, this is what we will be required to do, and this is the two ways of doing it. Right, so now let us start working on our program. How to go about this? Okay, how to go about with this? Now, let us rewrite our code here. Okay, I'm going to have my main method. So inside the main method, I am creating my variables. I have my A and B here. Then I have my scanner class. Scanner class because I want to get the value of A and B. Okay, I want to get the value of A and B. So I'm saying yes. Now, I'm just going to copy the speed of code. So here, let us just make this change, A and B. So these are the two variables that is going to be there. Right. So now I have to write the logic for swapping. Remember, we are using the concept of functions or methods. So I have to create a method. So I am creating an instance method for doing what? For doing swapping. So I am going to call this method. So let us say public, okay, void swap. That is the name of my function. And this function, see, since my input, since my A and B is there in some main function, I want to pass this A and B's value to my swap. So I am going to create this with parameters. Now, first point I would like to make is please don't get confused with the variable names. This is A and B. This is also A and B. But this A and B belongs to my main method, and this A and B belongs to my swap method. This is different. This is different. Both are not same. Okay. See, you cannot create a variable with the same name inside that scope. Inside a main, if I create another A, that is an error. But outside of the main, this is inside this function. It does not have anything to do with the main method. So it is possible for us to make use of that same variable name here. So please understand this. This A and B is different. This A and B is completely different. Right. So now I have to call the function. So method calling. So here I'm going to say, now remember this is an instance function. So before calling, I have to create an object of the class. So create an object of the class, and then with the help of that object, call the function. Right. So now what will happen? This A's value will go and get stored inside this A. And this B's value will go and get stored inside this B. Right. Now inside, we have to write our logic for swapping. So let us write. Now, before doing that, let me do one thing. I am saying system.out.println before swapping. So, before swapping, value of A is equal to, okay, and value of B. And value of B is this. I'm just giving one information. Okay, before swapping, what is the A value? What is the B value? Then I'm going to call the swap function. So after calling the swap function, I am once again printing the value of A and B. So after swapping, okay, after swapping, what is the value of A and B? So all this is done inside the main function. All this printing is done inside the main function. Okay. Right. Now come inside. Write the logic of our swap. So your choice. You can take anything. This logic or this logic. Whichever you want, you can take. Let me take the first one. I'm going to take this. So I'm creating a temp variable. So using the temp variable, I am changing the things, changing the details. Right. Okay. Now, I am going to print the values here inside the function also. Okay, after swapping, but this is from the swap function. This is from the swap function. After swapping, what are the values of A and B? Right. Now, let us run this piece of code. Let us run this program. Asking me for the value of A given. I'm sorry, value of B. Inside also I have to change that code, right? Done. Now let us run it. So value of A, value of B. See what is the output I'm getting. So this is the value of A and B. So in the main function, before swapping, value of A is 20, Value of B is 10. Perfect. After swapping, see what happens. A becomes 10, B becomes 20. Super. So my swapping logic is working perfectly. Right. Inside the function, my swapping logic is working perfectly. So now I am coming out of the function. In the main method, I am once again printing the value of A and B. See what is the output I'm getting. Is there any difference between before swapping and after swapping? No. No changes at all. Then where is the swapping actually happening? This is what I said, call by value. So what happens here is this A and B, that is what I kept telling you. This A and B is different. Okay, this A and B is different, and this A and B is different. This belongs to my swap function, this belongs to my main function. So only the copy of this variable is passed on. The original value does not change. I can give you guys another practical, simple example. I am uploading my notes in the Google Drive. Yesterday's class notes I uploaded in the Google Drive. Right. Original is still in my laptop. What I uploaded is just a copy of that original. You are downloading that document. You are making changes to that document. Will it affect my original document? No. It is not going to affect my document in any way. The changes are only for you. That is what exactly happening here in our program also. So what happens here? A copy of my A and B variables are given to these variables. So whatever modifications I do with this will not affect my original data. That is the reason why we are getting the values like this. So any value you take. See, before swapping, this is the value. Inside the function, yes, because this is the parameters of my function. Then after coming out, this is what happens. Right. So this is what you mean by call by value. So this is an example to make you understand what is call by value and how it actually works for us. Right. So all these informations are regarding the concept of our parameters. So what is parameters? How to give parameters? And as I said, any data type. It can be of the any data type. It is not necessary that it should always be integers. Now, take an example here. Here, I'm creating a function. Just a function to welcome the user. So I am saying public void msg is the name of my function. It takes one string as a parameter. It takes a string as a parameter. Inside, it is just going to say hi followed by yes, whatever is the value of s. Then I'm going to say that's it. Now, please remember, whenever I'm going to call this function, so create an object of the class as usual. Done. Then see how I'm going to call the function. Okay, inside this, I am giving I am creating a loop. Okay, I have created a loop. Inside this loop, I am going to give so here I'm saying name is equal to sc dot. Then I have to call this function. So what is the name of the function? MSG. So I'm going to say e dot MSG of name. Right. Okay, now let us run this. So it says enter your name. See what it says. Hi Anu, welcome to Java classes. Again, enter your name. Hi Shri, welcome to Java classes. Again, enter the name. Hi Anil, welcome to Java classes. So what happens here? The function is called 3 times. I am calling the function 3 times. I am putting it inside a loop. So how many times this? Until the loop is correct, the statement is going to get executed. Until this condition becomes false. Remember entry control loop. So until this condition is true, the loop will keep on getting executed. And what is inside the loop? I'm asking the user to enter the name. And here, whatever they are entering, I am passing that as the value for my parameter. I'm creating a string as a parameter. Anything, anything you can create. It is your choice. So as I said, always add comments to your program so that you can understand what is happening much more clearly. So until the condition becomes false, the loop is going to keep on getting executed. No matter how many times you are running. Suppose if I am calling 5, so 5 times the loop will run. So 5 times the function is going to be called here. See what it does. I will run and show you one more important point in this particular function. Okay, now you see here, I have given the first name and the last name. See, generally a name consists of first name, middle name, last name, or at least first name and last name. Right. So now look at the function that I have made use of here. I'm not using the next function, but rather I am using a function called as next line. So what is this next line function? The next line function allows you to read a string value along with spaces. Now run the same program. Okay, run the same program by giving only next. Don't use next line, give only next. Run this. So I am giving my first name and my last name. But see what happens. It is taking only my first name. It is not taking my last name, but rather how it has taken this as the second input. It is taking this as the second input. See what it says. Hi Anu, welcome. Hi Shri, welcome. So that is the problem you will be facing with the next. Next function will not be able to read a string with spaces. It will read only a single word string values. So whenever you want to read a string along with spaces, we will be using the function next line. So remember what is the purpose of it? Reading string value along with spaces. That is the usage of this function. Next line. Right. So this is a concept of parameters in my program. Right. So another example is this one. Now let us concentrate on the return type. So return type is one thing which we already covered yesterday. I told you what is a return type, how we are going to be using the return type. So those things I have already discussed with you in yesterday's session. So now I am going to show you one single program, but how to write it in different ways. So let us say based on the concept of parameters and or parameters or what we call as arguments. Based on the concept of arguments and return type. Function can be created or method can be created in 4 different ways. Please remember, same function, one single function, I can create it in 4 different ways. That is the speciality. That is the speciality of these two concepts. So based on the concept of arguments and return type of a method, it is possible for me to create a function in 4 different ways. So what are they? What are the 4 different ways? That is what I'm going to tell you next. Okay, so this is method with arguments and return type. Methods with argument and return type. This is the first category. Category number 2. Methods without return type and arguments. Category number 3. Methods with arguments but no return type. The fourth category, methods without arguments. That is methods no argument but with return type. With return type. So these are the 4 different ways of creating a method. Please remember what I said yesterday. There is no fixed rule on how I should create. It all depends on the programmer, how you are fetching the data, how you are printing the data. Based on that, you have to choose. You have to choose. So there is absolutely no fixed standard. So let us take one single program. The program that I'm going to take is addition of 2 numbers. I am going to write this in all the 4 different ways. Single program, how to write it. That's what I said. Any program you take, you can write it using any of these methods. So again, you have to choose which one is ideal for you. So the first option, what we are doing is methods with arguments and with return type. That is going to be our first example. So methods with argument and with return type. Okay. Now, Let us remove all this. Clearly start our work. Now, what did I say? Addition of two numbers. So, instance method, public. Now, what did I say? With arguments with return type. So, let us assume I'm going to add two double data. So, result is also going to be a double value. So, I'm saying public double addition. So, two numbers of the double type. So, double D1, comma, double D2. These are my parameters. So what it is going to return? D1 plus D2. That's all. My function is ready. My function is absolutely ready. So function with return type with arguments. Okay, so now in my main method, okay, so in the main method, we are going to be calling this function. So how to call that function? So you already know how to call the function. First, create an object of the class. Done. Okay, then using that object, call the function. So method calling e dot addition. So here I have to pass two values. Here I have to pass two values, one for D1, one for D2. So either you can use the scanner class, read the value from the user and pass that variable, or you can directly pass the value. It is your choice. How you want to do is entirely your choice. So what I'm saying, here I am directly passing the values. So this value will go to D1. This value is going to go to D2. Right. Now, remember this function is going to return something. So the returned value needs to be captured. Whatever it is returning, I want to store that return value and print it. So what I'm going to do is I am saying system.out.println result is equal to plus I am calling this function. See what happens now. This function is going to return something. Whatever value it is returning, where it is going to come. Remember what I said yesterday. Whenever the return keyword is used, it will carry the return and carry the result value, and where it is going to give to the place from where you are going to call the function. So the return value is going to come to this location. So that value I'm directly printing. I'm not storing it inside another variable. See, you can do like this also. I can actually do like this. I can say double R is equal to E dot addition. So this is the two values I'm adding. So what will happen here? Whatever is the result of this addition will be stored inside this variable R. So now you're going to say system.out.println plus R. So you can either do it like this or you can do it like this. It is your choice. It is your call. This is also method calling only. Right. Now, what is the difference between this and this? Here, another 8 bytes of memory is getting wasted. Double occupies 8 bytes. So, 8 bytes of memory. What you are doing with that R? Nothing. I'm just printing it. I'm not doing anything else with that. So, why should I waste 8 bytes? So, directly call the function in the print statement so that whatever method, whatever value this function is returning, that will get automatically printed for us. So this is an example of creating a method with arguments and return type. Let us run this. See the output. Both the methods are working perfectly for us. Right. So this is our first example. This is our first example. Right. Now let us go into our example number 2. So what is the second example says? Method without arguments and return type. So return type also is not there. Parameters is also not there. So that means what? Parameters not there. Remove it. Return type not there means what? Both are not available for my function. Right. So now here what I am going to be doing. Here what I am going to be doing. So let us say t dot addition. It is going to be called like this. So what are the steps I'm going to do inside? Done. Now I'm saying, so here I'm doing for two integer numbers. Okay, last time I did for two double values. Then I'm going to say, that's it. So when I'm saying without arguments means no parameters, without return type means void. So the data is also got inside the function, calculation is done, output is also printed within the function itself. Now when I run this, now when I run this piece of code, look how my output is going to come. Enter the first number, enter the second number, see the output. Now it is your choice. You can call this function again if you want to. You want to add another two numbers. Call the function again. You want to add another different set of two numbers. Call the function again. So you can call n number of times. So every time when I call this function, what is going to happen? It is going to ask the user to enter two new numbers and it is going to add them. See here. First set. Second time. Third time. See. So this is a way of creating your function without anything. Without anything. No parameters also. No return type also. So as I said, same task, same addition of two numbers. We are doing it in multiple ways. So this is our second example. Now let us go to our third example. Let us go to our third example. So what is the third way I said? Methods with argument but no return type. So I am going to have arguments. I am going to have arguments. So I am going to have arguments. That means so arguments are going to be there. Okay, arguments are going to be there, but no return type. So please remember, no return type means what? It should be void. It should be void. Done. So get the values from the user. Then when you're going to call the function, pass the values as the parameter. That's it, done. So a function with no return type, but it is having the parameters. It is having the parameters. So this is my first function call. Call the function again if you want to give a different set of values. Now let us run this. See, you got the output. So this is another way of creating the function. See, everywhere the addition function is doing the same operation. But look at the different ways in which I am writing the code for that. That is what is important here. Right. And the last of the methods. And the last of the methods. No arguments, but you have return type. No arguments, but you are having return type. No arguments means what? This is not there. Return type is there means what? It is going to have something. So how am I going to modify this program? I am going to say return a plus b. But I need to have the value of a and b. So get the value of the variables, but return it. Don't print it. Just get the value, do the calculation, but don't print it. So the printing work is going to be taken care by my main method. So when I'm going to call this function, see how I'm calling? I'm going to call it directly inside the main method. So I am saying result is equal to plus p dot addition. So here, no parameters, but I am having a return type. Run this. See, asking me for the values. And the calculation is working perfectly. So this is the last type of this thing. So again, as I was telling you, how to create it is your choice. There is no fixed way of doing it. So same logic, I can write it in any of the manner. Same logic, I can write it in any of the manner. So this is what your methods, your parameters, and your arguments are all about. Right. So any doubts in this, guys? Kindly message in the chat and let me know any doubts in what we have seen so now.